Ready to level up? Chumba Casino is your playbook to fun. It's free to play with no purchase necessary. Enjoy hundreds of casino-style games like bingo, slots, and solitaire anytime, anywhere with fresh releases every week. Whether you're at home or on the go, let Chumba Casino bring the excitement to you. Plus, get free daily login bonuses and a free welcome bonus. Join now for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Play Chumba Casino today. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. T&Cs apply.
Brews and Banter.
Okay. Hey, Frank.
Hey, Roman. How are you?
I'm great. Hello, Suzi.
Hello. How are you guys?
We're doing great. We're so happy to have you on. And Frank happened to hear about you and reached out, and we're excited to have you on because we're looking forward to hearing the stories and learning more about you. And we both love country music and want to hear your story.
Yeah, and you're
you
super.
A little harder than country music, so I love that you love that.
like country rock, right?
Yeah. But no, you guys look like you might like rock music more.
Yeah. No,
Sometimes at work or if I'm in the garage, I'll play like 80s classic rock.
Yeah.
I like to listen to that.
I listen to everything. I mean, I don't care what it depends kind of mood you're in, right? But
I guess there's some stuff I like more modern music. I just don't get it. Maybe I'm too old. No, I just don't understand.
Like I find even for myself, I do listen to modern music, but my preference when I'm just choosing something to listen to, it's usually 70s, some 80s. But yeah, I like the older stuff too. But it's more nostalgic, it's got more meaning at this point, just because obviously for some people it's memories too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like some of the songs will pop up and it'll spark a memory. Yeah. And like when I work out or I run, I listen to different music. Like when I run, it's either like some kind of like motivational music or like metal, like hard metal.
Well, yeah, because you got to be pissed off because you're even running.
Something needs to like.
Something needs to push you.
Yeah, it was tough. Like I did a run not too long ago. Frank and I, we went, to an event, and my headphones died, and I had to do 13 miles with no music.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I was like,
you'll
man.
be looking at your surroundings at that point and revisiting your entire life.
Yeah. That's when you learn your real self, when you get to have your own thoughts for 13 miles. Like, Jesus.
Or finding a runner you want to keep the pace with and share a Bluetooth headphone.
That's right.
Man. So we reached out to you and you got right back. So let's talk about how accessible you are, because I know you're just a one-person show right now, right? You run it all. You run it all.
The irony is that I went and recorded a new song. It's the next song coming out hopefully next month. And it's called Me, Myself, and I. Oh. And it really is, the story of not just myself, anybody who has to get stuff done, and you do it on your own. Because anybody who starts doing something, especially, I'm going to reference it to music because that's what I know. When you get into the industry, it's hard to have people who believe in you because you have no track record. And there's nothing to prove that you're actually good or, and even if you are good, a lot of people won't really look at you until you have some kind of history behind you and proven track record of something. Mm-hmm. So you start out on your own and you're doing all these things and you wear all these hats. And then at some point I realized I actually kind of like this and I like being the one in control and directing life on my own. And if someone messages me like you did through my website, I want to make sure that's answered and how is that answered and, that you're followed up on. Because I know I've worked with other artists and you have to go through their management and sometimes the management doesn't even respond. And I'm like, does the artist know that? Right. Are they aware that their management is not responding to people? So I never want to be in that boat where I've kind of given away all the control and I don't know what's going on. So yeah, absolutely. When someone reaches out, I reach back.
People respect that too. Like when you return an email, a phone call. Sorry,
that is.
Sorry, that was me. I turned my phone off, but it went on my laptop. Because I have my phone on silent.
I don't know if it was like Roman's pacemaker or something.
No, I'm sorry. That was my phone. Somebody sent me a message.
What was I saying? Oh, yeah. Like people really respect and value that from anyone, whether it's artist or and you want online and social media, when you respond back, I think they appreciate it. So
because we get a ton of people that don't.
Yeah.
People we reach out to and you just never hear from them again. I'm like, am I bothering you if I send something again, or do you not want? I mean, I'm fine if you want to say no or you're not interested. Then we know. Yeah. But
and it's too bad that people, because I know people at my level. I mean, I'm not way up there yet, but people at my level who don't respond back, and I don't get it. This is the time that you need any kind of support. If someone's offering you a chance to do an interview, to have an article written, whatever it is, you better answer back, And the other thing is that you build these relationships directly with people. So now they're more willing to help you because there's no middleman. They know who you are as an artist, and they actually start to like you even more because they're like what you said. They respect you. It's like, this person hustles, and they do the work. And as much as I love the creative side of music, I love the business side of it too. So I'm very much involved in, how do I manage this? So I make sure that I am doing these kind of interviews, and it becomes easier because what happens is the more you're out there and the more you're on social media, like what happened with us, people discover you who are in the industry, and then they reach out. So you get more of that where people are reaching out to me now and saying, we'd like to interview you. But again, you have to do the work of putting yourself out there for people to find you.
Absolutely. Since we started the podcast over 2 years ago now, at least 20, 30 people that we've interviewed, we still stay in touch with. Whether it's on social media, we still say hello to each other, or we had someone on our social media that saw like a short video of an interview and they wanted to get in touch with them. So we put them together. We still keep open communication with guests that want to continue to stay in touch. And I love that. Like, I feel like we meet a lot of good people. We learn things about them, and you establish like a friendship.
Oh, and it's wonderful because, as people move along in their careers, whether it's from the artist's end or from your end as the show, it's wonderful if you've met early on because, I'm not just talking to you because you're now big, or you're not talking to me just because I'm someone famous. You're talking to me right now before I even get up there, and in the industry, and vice versa. So it's wonderful because that's more of a solid relationship. Later on, when people are getting even bigger, they remember that you were there when they still weren't at that point of being a megastar, and you still had interest to interview them and do this.
And it's just more genuine that way. Like we wanted to talk to you because of you have great voice. Your music is cool, and just like from when Frank found out about you, I started looking at some videos and listening to some of your music and covers while I was working, and I was like, I'd love to talk to this person. Like, just that, I mean, nothing about how famous someone is. Like you said, it's just keeping it real.
100%. And, that's one thing as an artist, what you see is really who I am. I know some artists who are trying to put on an image, and that's fine because a lot of people love that and buy into the image of someone. But I think for myself, and I can only speak for me, whatever I'm building, if it does become massive, I don't want to be having to put on a show constantly, where I have to live this thing that isn't even really who I am. I mean, in reference to, I just saw Gene Simmons last week, but with Kiss, they put on the makeup. And then when they tried to take off the makeup, it didn't work. And their management and everybody else said, put the makeup back on. Because they had created this thing that is phenomenal. And what it's done all these years is just incredible. And it's a lesson in branding and marketing. But they have to carry that on. I mean, now, of course, they're retired as a band, but Gene is on his own and not with makeup. But for 40, 50 years, they were wearing makeup. It's like Slash and his top hat, that he wears. That became part of his brand, and it's something you have to continue on. So I'm always conscious of that whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm putting out in front of people, I want to be as genuine as I am. This is really who I am. So it's very easy. I'm not having to put on any kind of show. You're seeing who I really am and all sides of it. The countryside and the rock side.
And it will be less stressful too. Sorry.
So your brand is authenticity. You don't have to.
Yeah. And, when I talk to other artists, I say, don't be afraid to be yourself. People feel like they have to be something bigger than themselves. But if you're just who you are, no one can compete with you, and you're not competing with anyone because nobody can be me.
Yes.
I am me, and there is no other me as far as I know. And so the more authentic you are, the more untouchable you are, because you're truly something unique. We all are. Mm-hmm. And so, there's something in that that's important for people to understand.
You think some artists get pushed to get into character by their managers?
100%, and I'm not saying that goes for every single artist, but when you don't know who you are, and the younger people are, I see it happening with a lot of younger artists. They're kind of shaped and molded and designed into who they are. And that's a scary thing, because they're not sure. And so they're thinking, okay, well, this person must know. So then they follow along with that. But that could leave you very, very unhappy when one day you wake up and realize that's not who I am. That's not what I believe in. That's not what I want to sing about. That's not, and that's where problems start to happen, because if you become a massive star, you've already built that image. Now what do you do? Right. But that image might have been created by a whole bunch of people that have nothing to do with yourself.
Yeah. Now you're living an image that is not yours.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, if you would have signed with the manager, would you allow a manager to make any kind of decisions in your image, or would you say, look, if you want to manage me, this is what you get and I'm not changing? Or would you
100%. It's not like, I'm difficult and want to say, nope, I'm not doing any of that. But if something doesn't align with who I am and it doesn't sit right, no, then I would say no. So it doesn't mean I'm not listening to someone. If someone has something valid, they say to me, I've talked to people in the industry where they bring up certain things like, when you're putting yourself out there and you're talking about your authenticity, I'm of Middle Eastern background. They're like, well, you could bring that into the picture and kind of embrace that and show that side of you. Those kind of things, I think, okay, yeah, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that, but you're right. Yeah. Maybe I could bring that somehow into it. So ideas like that, I'm open to, but it has to sit right with me that, well, why am I doing that? Why do I need to show that side? Is that important? And as long as I believe that it makes sense, absolutely. So I will listen to someone. Yeah. Will I follow 100% what someone else tells me? No. It all comes down to, do I feel right about this? If I do, yeah, let's do it. If I don't, no. Even if it could be commercially fantastic for me, if it doesn't make sense for me, I don't sit right with it, no, I wouldn't do it.
Got it.
Sure.
Yeah, you're open for ideas, but not... Yeah.
But not compromise. I mean, not compromising who you are. Sure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. If you're just making the decision based on, okay, commercially and financially, this makes sense, you should do this, but it isn't who I am. No. Like if someone told me, to brand a beer and people who know me know I don't drink, I wouldn't do that. If someone came to me from a beer, company and said, hey, can you be our spokesperson? No. Because I'd be a liar and, two-faced if I did that.
Yeah, we would turn that down also.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to show, because I know this is Brews and Banter. I am having a drink here. I told you I'm going hard with some oat milk latte. But you'll like what it says here. It says, take it easy.
Perfect.
And it's a brew.
Right, yeah. I made it myself.
And if we drink too much, we fall over, we get bruised. So it's kind of, it's all encompassing. We've had coffee episodes. I mean, it doesn't matter to us.
Yeah. We have guests who...
icebreaker for us, right?
Yeah. We have guests who don't drink, so it's either water, coffee, or some people don't like beer, they want wine, whatever.
Yeah.
We try to accommodate our guests and make them feel comfortable and have fun. You say you have Middle Eastern background. Where are you from?
I was born in Lebanon, but I moved to Canada when I was 8 months old. So I really grew up here. There was a civil war happening there when I was born. So luckily for me, my parents moved here and I ended up growing up here. And then later in life, I did move back to the Middle East. I lived there for about 13 years, but in Jordan, not in Lebanon.
My background, I'm Armenian, and my family also left when there was a conflict. So, but I've never been back.
And how old were you when you left?
5.
Oh,
four,
wow. Okay,
4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah, fairly young.
But
don't look at me. I've been here forever.
That's what it looked like. He was waiting for you to tell your story.
I'm like, I don't know. Do you want to
I was just making sure I got the age right. But yeah, I wish I spoke I wish I spoke Armenian more. I didn't forget, but I do still practice with like my family members who speak it.
Yeah, it's important. Growing up here, my parents didn't really talk to us in Arabic because they would a little bit, and then we'd answer back in English, my brother and I. Mm-hmm. So I grew up not knowing Arabic, but when I moved to Amman, Jordan, I actually learned Arabic, and my children, I have 2 boys, and they went to school, and it was with them that I kind of learned along with them the language. So now I am fluent in Arabic, and I'm so thankful for it, but I always think my parents should have pushed me more to learn it. Mm-hmm. And now my kids are, obviously they speak both Arabic and English. So
nice. It's so much easier to learn a language when you live in that country. Yes,
because it's all around you. You can't not learn it.
And if people speak English in that country or know a little bit, they're so helpful. Like they're willing to help you. I was in the Philippines, and everyone speaks English there, but their native language is Tagalog. Yeah. And I was trying to learn Tagalog, and when I was there, I was practicing, and they get so excited when you're trying to speak Tagalog, and they teach you, they'll correct you, and so it's nice. Like you're not lost, in the foreign country.
Exactly. But now we've got a cheat code because you can just use Google Translate.
Oh, I know. And the technology is just getting better.
Yeah. I went to Japan a while back, and everything, you just talk it into your phone and then show the other person. So it's really easy. Yeah.
Is there any musical influence for you from being in Jordan, or even from Beirut, I suppose?
It never, it's weird because my background obviously is Middle Eastern, and I wanted to get into it, but maybe it was because I grew up here, and I grew up my mother listened to a lot of country. That's where the countryside comes from. But I grew up on a hard rock. Like my first concert was Guns N' Roses. And I always tell people the stories that when I went to my first concert, that's when I knew, like, that's what I want to do. Yeah. I saw Axl Rose, and, so anyhow, for years, I listened to hard rock music. And then when I moved to the Middle East, I tried to understand more Middle Eastern music. I have a very high respect for it, but I don't feel it in here. When you perform, you got to feel what you're singing. And because I didn't grow up there, it's just not in my DNA, and I don't feel it. So I love listening to it, but for myself, I wouldn't be able to sing it. I don't feel it. So yeah, I don't think I'm influenced by it in that way. Yeah. And that's why when people have suggested, well, why don't you kind of incorporate it? I'm like, but I don't have that side, and maybe one day I will, or maybe working with another artist who is Arabic and I sing in English, we can figure something out that way.
Is there a rock genre in Arabic music?
Yes. Yeah. There's all kinds of music in Arabic. There's rap, hip hop, all of it. Nice. So they've really expanded there. Lebanon, where I was born, is very much a cultural country. They love art, they love music. And Egypt is very much so, there's like Hollywood. Egypt is also very much a mecca of films and shows. So there's a big creative artsy community in the Middle East. So yeah, it all exists there. But I remember when I was living in Jordan, kind of people who loved heavy metal were questioned, right. And even like hard rock bands like Metallica, I'd heard hard metal was going to be coming to Jordan, but in the end they didn't allow it because it's still considered kind of like devil music. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting. That's still in this day and age, it's viewed that way.
Yeah, I grew up listening to all the hair bands and Poison and Motley Crue and all these guys, and it was a great time. I loved it. We're similar in age, and
what's that?
We're similar in age, you and I.
Yeah,
and so the '80s was fantastic for me. I mean, Roman was like still a thought, like a little.
What are you talking about? I love '80s.
Well, you weren't around then. Oh, you were born in the '80s, right?
I was born in the '80s.
Okay, just checking. Well, still, as a baby, you don't
early '80s.
Yeah.
I was trying to mention Poison because the other day I posted something. I don't know what it was. Something about one of my songs, and Ricky Rocket, the drummer from Poison, liked the post. I was just like, wow.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so we get to talk about some of these stories because I know you mentioned Gene Simmons and what happened with that recently, and some other crazy stories you mentioned you probably experienced, and it's interesting because you'll remember all this because you don't drink. So now you can truthfully tell it all.
Well, I mean, the craziest story of all is probably how this all started. When I just mentioned to you guys when I saw my first concert at 14. I saw Guns N' Roses and I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And then my parents said, no, it's not what you're going to do. You're going to get a real job. And so I did. I got a real job and I forgot about the whole music thing. And it wasn't until my kids were kind of getting into their teens that I went, okay, well, I never pursued this, but I don't want to not do this in my life. So I started much later in life to start with music. And I didn't really have any musical training. I didn't know anybody in the industry. I was really starting at zero. And the thing that inspired me to start was I went on my birthday to LA because I wanted to meet Axl Rose. And I remember telling people, and they thought, oh my God, she's going nuts. She's going through a midlife crisis or something, but it's all right. Just let her go. And I ended up meeting him. I actually went to his home in LA, and he was outside his home. So I saw him and we chatted and we took a photo, and I posted this photo on Facebook. And this photo got picked up by a lot of magazines, like rock magazines, because he hadn't been seen at that time. This was 2015 for about a year and a half. Nobody had seen Axl Rose. So it was the first photo of Axl in a year and a half. And then 2 weeks later, they announced they were reuniting. So it was just crazy. But anyhow, that meeting with him, I was just like, okay, you know what? He's the reason I wanted to do this in the first place. And here I am. I got to meet him. I'm going to do this music career thing and give it a try. And since then, it's just been crazy. And
you reunited Guns N' Roses. Congratulations. You did it.
Well, I jokingly said that. I said, look, 2 weeks ago, I met with the guy, and now I'm reuniting. So let's put two and two together here.
Right. Take credit. So you just walked by and and just ran into him. What was he gardening?
No, I literally looked up his home, and he lives in Malibu. So I drove to Malibu. I flew from Toronto because I live in Toronto. Mm-hmm. And I went for my birthday, and I drove to Malibu. But 2 minutes from his house, I was just a few minutes away. He was walking in the street. He was out for a walk. And so I saw him, and I'm like, I can't believe this. He's just out here walking. Because my whole mind was thinking, how am I going to meet him? What am I going to say to security? How am I going to get him? Because he lives in a huge gated mansion. Mm-hmm. There's gates, and you'd have to buzz and talk to them and hopefully try and get inside. I'm like, I don't know if they're going to let me in, but I will say I've come from Toronto. It's my birthday. Please, I just want to take a photo. But instead, I get this surprise that he's just walking out in the street. So
meant to be.
So is this when he was or in the timeline, was he touring with AC/DC?
It would have been before, after, I think. Okay. Oh no, he joined AC/DC after Guns N' Roses reunited.
Okay.
Because he joined on a leg of it, right? They were off tour, Guns N' Roses. Yep. So no, that was before.
Yeah,
so
Brian Johnson had a. I think he had stepped away for a little bit. So
that's right. So he just filled in for a little bit. So no, this was before. I met him before that happened.
So see, you were even part of that.
Yeah, all of it. But I wish I had seen him singing with AC/DC. I think he's the only guy that could do those vocals.
Right.
Like Brian Johnson. He's got that range.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Did you take singing lessons, or did you just kind of did it on your own?
So the funny thing is, I didn't take singing lessons until probably, I think, 2020. And I started in 2017. So it was 3 years into, I was already doing the music, already recording. And it was after that I started to see, okay, if you want to take this seriously and go to the next level, you've got to get those vocals, especially with country music. So rock music, you're hiding behind a band and it's loud. And you don't necessarily have to be the best vocalist because you're kind of just rocking it out and so on. With country music, you do a lot of shows that are singer-songwriter shows. It's just me and a guitarist. Mm-hmm. So your vocals are the showcase of the whole performance. And if you can't control the vocals and your breathing and the voice and all of that, I started to see the singers in country music and how phenomenal they are. They're just incredible, the way they control the voice. And that inspired me to go, okay, I should go and get some vocal lessons too. But what happened because of that also, so recently I went to go record again with my producer in LA. His name is Brent Woods. And he said, I've never heard your voice stronger. And I said to him, it's because I do vocal exercises every single day. So my vocal coach, I stopped taking vocal lessons. I took lessons for about a year, like once a month. So about 12 lessons with a wonderful woman whose name is Tamara Beatty. And she works with people on The Voice. She's the vocal coach of people on The Voice. And I did it via, just like this on Zoom. And the exercises she's given me, I still do them to this day, every single day. Whether I have a show or I don't have a show, it doesn't matter. And I started to see what that does for your voice, that now I can sing anytime, anywhere. Someone says to me, hey, oh my God, I heard you're a singer, whatever. And we're chatting. And they're like, oh, can you sing something for me? Sure. And people are always like, really? Because they don't expect someone to sing, number one, without an instrument. But I can sing without any instrument, and I'm still on key and in tune and, so on. But that comes from just doing the repetitions. Like if you're an athlete, you've got to train, whether you have a tournament or, a competition or not, you've got to train every single day. And what that does for you is phenomenal. So yes, I do. I don't take lessons now, but I do the exercises every day.
And I see the guitars in the background. Do you play on any other instruments besides guitars?
Yeah, there's also a piano somewhere right over here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see what's there, but there's a magazine with Guns N' Roses on the cover.
Yeah, I see that. So did you teach yourself how to play instruments, or did you take lessons for that?
Yeah, like I play basic chords. So the reason I taught myself is so when I write a song, I can, send my producer the basic chords, play along with them. So that he knows what I'm writing. I could just sing it for him. He'll get it. But it's different when I have kind of the tempo, the beat, and so on. So that's what I use these for. I have never played live the instruments. I'm not that confident with it yet. But I use them to be able to write the songs.
Do you have a lot of original music you've written?
10 songs that I've recorded. So, I've written them all. And I co-write with my producer, Brent. He's in Los Angeles, so usually I'll fly out there and we work on it together. The way it starts is I'll write the song and then I go to him and we work on it together, kind of the arrangement. He may say, okay, let's change this. Let's do this like this. And he'll bring in ideas too. So we collaborate on all the songs. But yeah, we've done those songs. I have other stuff that's not recorded, but I've written it, but maybe down the road. Yeah,
definitely a bunch of range you have. For some of the videos people can see on YouTube or something like that. There's a it's not just country rock. There's some other kind of things in there that people can enjoy that's maybe not into country rock, I suppose, right?
Yeah. Well, I remember when I first got into it. So there's a band here in Canada called The Trues, and I worked with their guitarist, John Angus MacDonald, and they're a phenomenal band. Anyhow, I did some rock songs with him, and then I think my third show ever was in Brazil, because I'd met this band that was in Toronto. They're from Brazil. They were phenomenal. I became friends with them. And this is before I'd even ever written a song. But it goes to show you how sometimes you make those connections and you don't know when that connection will come into play. When I recorded my songs with this producer, John Angus MacDonald here, they were 4 rock songs. And then I was sharing them with the band in Brazil. And I said, I just recorded these songs. And they're like, oh my God, do you want to come here and play a festival? We have a big festival that we're organizing and we'll be your band. So I'm like, of course, sure. And meanwhile, I have never had vocal lessons. I'm not, I haven't really done any shows. I'd done one show here in Toronto. I had another show coming up in LA. And then my third show was in Brazil at this festival. So anyhow, the reason I'm telling that is because I ended up singing Dream On as one of my covers.
Right.
And, hitting that high note. But I was like, what?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's pretty gutsy, for the third show ever.
yeah, absolutely. And
so
you're not
that's on YouTube too.
And you're not afraid to do it, right? I mean, you're welcoming the challenge, right?
Yeah, I think in life, just go for it. And if you make a fool of yourself, who cares? Keep going.
So you talk about festivals. I think aren't you playing sometime soon here in New York?
Well, possibly. It's still not confirmed. I was in Youngstown, New York, which is like just north of Niagara Falls.
Yep.
Yeah, I went to a place there. I mean, it was a smaller kind of venue, but they invited me to come and do a few songs with the band there. So that was kind of fun. Yeah, I think, and I thought maybe I'll be able to come see you guys. Hopefully I will come by in person, do that. So that's one thing that might be in the works, but I definitely am playing something here. It's a big music festival called the Cavendish Beach Music Festival. Mm-hmm. And so they got people like Shania Twain, Tyler Hubbard from
Florida Georgia Line. Yeah.
Florida Georgia Line, and Lainey Wilson, which is pretty cool because she's one of my favorite country artists, and hopefully I'll get to meet her and say hello.
Or you could just drive to her house and see if she's gardening or walking down the street or something.
Yeah. Do you know where I know, right? Listen, that's not too far off. I'll probably bump into her. Everybody jokes around that the minute I say something, it happens. And I'm telling you, it's crazy. Because I don't know if you saw in my social media, but in January, I was also in LA. I was working on the song that I would end up recording a couple of weeks ago. And I was at a coffee shop, and in walks Paul Stanley.
Oh, Jesus.
Just like
I know.
that.
I'm like, only me, having my coffee, would I have Paul Stanley walk into the coffee shop that I'm at? And I went up to him and I said, I don't want to bother you, but the guy, so my producer is Gene Simmons' guitarist and tour manager. So that's how I ended up going to the show. But the part of going up on stage, he had nothing to do with that. That was really random. They were just looking for somebody to come up on the stage. And Gene's other guitarist pointed at me and said, yeah, her. So anyhow, people on social media were like, oh, how do you meet Paul Stanley a couple of months ago in LA? And then you're on stage with Gene Simmons a couple of months later, but I'm like, my life is like that. I also had a thing where a few years ago, I met Steven Tyler, and me and my best friend, we ended up hanging out with Aerosmith in Mexico City. And at that time I wasn't a singer yet. Like I didn't even have music out. And the tickets that they gave us were on the stage. So I actually have video footage where I'm on stage with Steven Tyler because he comes up and he leans on me like this and he puts the mic and I'm singing Living on the Edge. I'm like, this is real.
That's crazy.
But that's one of a million stories I could share with you. That's just like, I always feel like Forrest Gump. You know how he's in these like really major situations, like he didn't try. It's just like it just happens to him.
Suzi Gump.
Just the energy around you, I guess it just happens.
But that's fantastic. That whole ride, that just to be able to do that and experience that and unplanned, unscripted, spontaneous sort of, and then all fun.
Well, like if you're like that in life throws you these amazing things. And that's what I always say to people is like, it's not to have no goals in life. Of course, I have a vision of what I'd like to have happen, but I always let go of it all. Like, whether it happens or not is irrelevant. I have dreams and I'm like, yeah, I'd love this to happen. I still want to sing with Axl on stage. Like that's my big thing is to sing with Axl Rose on stage. So here you have it. So when it happens, you have to go, yeah, she told us that.
All right, Axl.
Or you're going to come stalk him in his house.
But whether it happens or not, it's not like I'm going to be so disappointed if it does. No, just live life as it comes at you and go with it. And, I don't know how to put it other than to just say, enjoy every single day, every moment. And then incredible things happen because you're in a good place in your life. That's all.
Yeah, you're basically 1/5 of Kiss now. Right.
Well, I had one of my friends, he's, friends on Facebook. We've never met, but we chat once in a while. Stu Herrera. He's one of the disc jockeys at KOLS in Los Angeles, which is the biggest rock station. And he literally said to me, what's the deal? Are you like on tour with G now? I'm like, no. Seriously, that I was like, I'm like, hey, you never know. Maybe save the weight. She was good.
Yeah. Maybe he'll remember it. Like, you know what? Who was that? He'll tell his manager, find out who that was on the stage.
That's right. Bring her back. Let's get her on tour.
Yeah.
I love Tommy Thayer. I was a big fan of his, or am a big fan of his.
Yeah.
But, they're just a great band to watch. They're really one of the, and it's not even really, I guess, disputable. It's indisputable that they're just great showmanship on stage, and theatrics and everything.
100%.
It's just
I saw them, I think it was in 2019. And it was my first time seeing them. And I'm so glad I got to see them before they retired. Because, I saw the whole show. And you would see 4 generations of people there. the grandfather, the father, the child, and the grandchild. And I'm just like, what other band has 4 generations all excited to see this artist? That's what's incredible about the whole story of Kiss.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So your latest release now is 1975, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then so there's something else coming up. Is there an album in the works?
Yeah. So, I put out 9 singles. The 10th is on its way, the one I'll be putting out hopefully next month. Then I'm making this compilation because till now, like I started 7 years ago and I've never put out a physical product like a CD or anything because people don't really listen to CDs. But my whole thing, I'm very much about nostalgia. I was telling you about, I love 70s music. So I want to put it all on a vinyl album. So that's what I'll be releasing, is just all these songs that I've put out over the past 7 years will be on a vinyl album.
Vinyls are coming back. Like I have some friends who constantly buy vinyls and they like all the fancy ones with like weird coloring and I went to the plant where they make them here because I know someone who works there. He's one of the vice presidents, and he said, "Come and I'll give you a tour of the plant." It was incredible to see how they mix all the different things to create unique albums for whatever you want. You could tell them what kind of design you want, and whereas before we used to have just the black vinyl albums, now they get, it's also part of the creativity and the artwork, and like you have the sleeve of the album, you also have the album itself being artistic. It was my friend's. He's a musician and went to his studio, and he sometimes would like unpack some new vinyls that he bought. And the packaging that goes into it and the artwork, like the sleeve, and it's just like it's not as it used to be, like the single sleeve. It's cover photo and then the songs in the back.
Touch the edges, hold by the edges.
I still remember my mom's collection. She had like ABBA, and it was all like.
I love ABBA.
She listened to it so much, like the sleeve was getting torn up.
And then they had that little adapter for 45s that they now use for the center of the pizza box.
Yeah.
How about country disco? You should make that a genre.
Oh,
with an Axl Rose sort of duet.
Well, you know what? I would love for him to do a song with me. So maybe I have to write it so he'll know.
That's it.
This is the song for you.
When you get your first vinyl, frame it.
Yeah, 100%. I'm so excited because it's kind of, again, it aligns with what I'm about. It's all the stuff that I love. And I think when you do something that you love, it gets other people excited because they see how excited you are about it, So, yeah.
Well, once it's out, we'll buy it. We'll send it to you for an autograph.
Well, you guys are getting a signed copy.
Oh, hell yeah.
We're only like maybe 5 hours from you, right? Something like that?
I know. I was looking that up. It's not a long drive. So I'll come down and deliver it in person.
Perfect. You're more than welcome anytime.
And then we'll hang it. We'll hang it in our studio.
Yeah.
So you've done a lot of interesting shows and run-ins. Is there a performance that like really stands out that like still gives you chills when you think about it?
It's funny because it was something not really the industry related. It was a private party. It was a wedding. Mm-hmm. And these 2 people that were getting married are friends of mine and recently become friends. So it's not like we've known each other for years, but they're also musicians. And they asked me to come sing one of my songs. That's their first dance. And, it's one thing when you play a private party and you're just doing covers, like people are a cover band, playing a wedding. This was different. They asked me to do their first dance, one of my songs, Settle of the Dust, because they said this is exactly our story. Mm-hmm. And then they asked me to sing A Better Man for the mom and son dance. And I wanted to cry because to me, for someone to choose my songs for those pivotal moments in their life I couldn't have... it's giving me goosebumps right now. And I'm not trying to be corny about it. Yeah. But look, I played the Whiskey A Go-Go, which was like phenomenal. And it was kind of one of those bucket list items. The festival I told you about in Brazil. This show coming up this summer with, the same festival as Lainey Wilson, Shania Twain makes me super excited. But that's something so much deeper. It's a human being, 2 of them, in their special day, asking you to sing your song that you wrote for your own reasons because they 100% relate to, and it's their life story. That to me is just mind-boggling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, what really stood out there like that really, till this day, that gives you, Goosebumps, like you said.
On the beach.
Yeah.
So it was beautiful. It was everybody was barefoot. I was in jeans, shorts, and, it was, obviously they were more dressed, a little more formal for the wedding, but it was just this beautiful, almost like hippie, it's what love and should be about. Mm-hmm. But again, what stood out for me was just the beauty of the surroundings, and we were out in the outdoors in front of a beautiful lake and on the beach, and me singing songs I'd written because they meant something to me. Mm-hmm. And I was singing it for this couple that was getting married because it meant just as much to them. And so that is something phenomenal.
Yeah. And a full circle moment for you, because, like you said, you wrote these songs for your own personal reason. Someone else is using it, but you are doing this, you're pursuing this career because for all the right reasons. You want to do it, you enjoy doing it, you want to stay true to yourself, and it's not financially driven, although that I'm sure you'll take any kind of success that comes along with it. So Absolutely. There's nothing fake about it. It's all genuine, and you're not compromising yourself.
Yeah, and that's why I think I'm lucky that I got into it later in life, because when you're young, including myself, when I wanted to get into it, it really was for fame. You're like, I want to be famous. I want to be famous. Right now, I couldn't care less if I get famous or not. That's not what it's about. And if fame is a byproduct of whatever I'm doing, of course I'll accept it. I'm not saying I don't want to be famous. I don't care about that. No, but that's not the reason you do it. The reason you do it is because, most of the songs that I've written, they came to me. I heard something and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Or I went through something and I sit down at the piano and I'm like, I need to put this into words because I just, I'm feeling something right now and I've got to put it out there. And it's an incredible process. And I feel fortunate. And I thank God or the universe or whatever you want to believe in, that I have that ability to do that. Mm-hmm. And so if you have that in you, to not share it with people, it's a crime. It really is. Yeah. And I'm not saying about myself personally. I think anybody who has any kind of gift you've been given, and everybody has one. If you don't share that gift, it's a shame. And once you start sharing it and you realize that I can touch people with this, the reason I'm sharing is because I want someone to feel something, or I want to say something that they go, oh my God, that's exactly how I feel. Because we all feel the same things. And that's where it's incredible. And I make a conscious effort also that everything I put out there is positive. I don't want to be a part of the negativity of the music industry. There's a lot of connotations with even things like people competing with each other as artists. I don't even look at anybody else. I enjoy other people's music, but I'm not ever looking, what is this person doing? Oh, how did they do this? So I focus on myself. What am I doing? What am I trying to create here? Why do I do this? And knowing all those things, your path is very clear. And that's why when we talk about having somebody else involved, they don't know me and they don't understand what's going on in my head and why I'm doing all this. People have different motives, right? So when you get management or you get a label or whatever, it's all business driven. And that doesn't mean I'm not business driven. I put the art out there and then I go, okay, now how do I make money off of this art? But when I'm creating the art, I'm not thinking about how am I going to make money off of this song. I'm thinking about what do I need to say right now? Mm-hmm. And I let it flow and I let the music come from a pure place, not from does this sound commercial? Is this going to be liked by people? That doesn't matter. But once I create it, now I'm like, okay, now how do I sell it to people? Because I love this song and I want people to hear it. Now, how do I get it out to people? When I put out 1975, it came out. If you check my social media, every single day I pumped out some kind of video with that song, video with the song. I'm like, I don't care if I drive people nuts with this. The reason I created the music is because I want people to hear it, right? Mm-hmm. And you want to get it out there. So it's a different mind frame when you're creating and a different mindset when you're now trying to put it out and get it out to people.
Mm-hmm. They say words are powerful, but when words are put in the music, I think it is more powerful. And sometimes you can listen to certain music and like you said, when it draws like emotions or touches you a certain way.
Careful.
as soon as I said that, I was like, he's going to say something. This guy, I can't.
I didn't say anything.
I know you didn't say anything. You didn't have to. That's the problem. But music affects you in a way. Is that better?
That's right.
All right. And sometimes I would listen to music and maybe something was in the lyrics or the setting. So the lyrics, the music, and the setting sparks like an emotion, whether I'll be happier or I'll tear up, or like my wife and I were looking for music for our wedding. Like what would be our song? And we went to see Aaron Lewis, and he was playing locally. And he has a song called "Tangled Up in You," and we both like looked at each other. See, I'm getting goosebumps. We both looked at each other like, "That's the song." So that was our wedding song, was by Aaron Lewis, "Tangled Up in You." And I don't know how to play instruments, and my dream one day to learn how to play guitar and play that song.
Well, and I would say to that, when people say one day, I'm like, the one day is right now.
Yeah. No, I actually was 2 days ago. I was on Facebook Marketplace looking for a 6-string acoustic guitar.
Good.
So I want to buy it and then start working on it.
That's right. You just got to do it, because when people say, one day I'm going to do this. No, that the one day is right now. Like you don't even know if you have tomorrow. So
I've been thinking about it, but I'm finally pulling the trigger to do it. And it's just such a cool instrument too. I love outdoors. We go camping a lot. I do hunting trips and things like that. So what an easy instrument to bring with you and just play it, And how
fun is it for everybody else too? If you're able to play it, and you get people singing along. It's just, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to do.
But I love that when there are songs that when the lyrics you wrote touch you in a way or gave you an idea or an emotion, and then you project that onto other people to the point where you have a couple that chose your song to be their wedding song, right? And you were talking about that special moment, like your song, whatever that was about that you wrote and the feelings that it brought, it did the same to that couple. So
and when they said to me, "This is our story," I went, "Oh my God! Well, it's my story too." So but again, it came from a very emotional place for me. So to have it have the same emotion for someone else, that really it brought so much light to me about what we're able to do as an artist, as a musician, as a songwriter. And that's why I'm thankful that I write my own songs, as opposed to I know some artists just use songs that other people have written, which nothing wrong with that. But I think when you are an artist and you're performing something you wrote, you know why you wrote this. Right. There's so much more behind it when you deliver that song. So, and, you talking about this, words being so much more powerful when they're set to music. Absolutely. I'm very much about the mind and reading about the subconscious mind and the conscious mind and how to I'm very spiritual. And so I read into all of that every single day. I'm reading about this stuff. And the reason music is so powerful is because when people are listening, they're listening kind of passively and they put their guards down. And so that music goes into the subconscious. And that's why people have to be careful too. What are you listening to? Because you're right, the words are powerful, much more powerful when they're set to music, because it's not you reading something, it's going deeper into your mind, because the music and everything, you're relaxed, right? And you're listening to this music, it goes on a much deeper level into people's minds. And that's why also if you're listening to negative music, it does the same thing. People don't know why all of a sudden they're feeling aggressive or they're feeling upset or they're feeling super sad, because it just elevates whatever emotion you're feeling. So music is very powerful, but it's being aware of how you're using it too and what you listen to. And I'm not saying don't ever listen to aggressive music in your metal, but when you're using it consciously because you want to run and you want to get that energy and the adrenaline going, that's different than someone who just sits there and is listening to that music and going, I want to go out and punch someone.
I experiment with music too. I was in Portland and we were visiting my wife's friend. And I went for a run because I was training for that half marathon. So I went for a run in Portland. I was like, I'm going to try something different. So I downloaded like Viking music.
I listen to it all the time.
And and it's just like deep, like deep voice and drums in the background. And it's very like this tribal music kind of, sparked a little bit more energy because those hills were killing me. And, and then I get to the top of the mountain and I'm like, oh, there's emus and cows. I like took a break, like took pictures with animals.
Well, if you're a Viking, you got to slaughter them then.
No. not my animals. But definitely I explore and music, like you said, draws different energies out of us depending on moments,
Yeah.
And I love it. And I wish I could sing or play an instrument. I'm terrible. My wife is like a great singer.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, she's just she's good at it. But I hope my son has her voice, not mine.
So for you, would you only sing or perform exclusively songs you wrote?
At this point, yeah. I've had people approach me and say, listen, I've written this song, that song. It doesn't resonate with me to sing someone else's song. Not right now. I just, again, that's a personal choice. I'm not saying that it's wrong to do that because obviously many artists do that. And someone I remember growing up, I was a big fan of Celine Dion. And Celine Dion was, never wrote a song. I think she might have written one, but overall, she didn't write any of her songs. But she was the person who could take a song and make it entirely her own. It was actually her who made the song. Right. So that's one thing, to have that gift and that talent. But for myself, I need to write my own songs. It's a part of the whole package. Mm-hmm. And also from a business perspective, you want to own your songs. I want to own the songwriting and I want to own the masters. So that's very important because I've been very fortunate. I got many songs on Sirius XM. And if I didn't own those songs and own the songwriting, you don't get the same kind of money. Right. You get huge amounts of money from that airplay. Yeah. But again, it's because I've taken control, making sure I own the publishing, so it's all of those things too to be aware of. Once you get too many people involved, it gets kind of complicated. And if I didn't know how to write songs, then of course I would have to go to other songwriters. But I'm very fortunate. I know how to write songs and how to figure out melody and, again, write something that resonates with me. And so when I sing it, it really is who I am because it comes from me.
Right.
Yeah. Have you gotten like texts or calls from friends or family saying, hey, I heard your song on the radio?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I've had people, it's cool when they're in their car and they see it, they'll make me a video and then I post it that so-and-so heard the song and that's pretty cool. So yeah, it's a wonderful thing. It's amazing. I
love it because that's your piece. Is it difficult to get the ownership, like make sure you have all the rights, and is that like a difficult process?
So when you write a song and once you've recorded it and put it out there, you can register it. So we have SOCAN here. You guys have ASCAP in the US. So when you register the song, you register who's the owner, who's the songwriter, and who's the publishing and so on. So all of that is registered. And then they collect all the money from if the song ever gets played and so on.
Yeah, some of the sites, and including social media, are actually being good at it, where if there's any music that's not licensed, like if people use someone else's music, it'll get flagged. So that way you're not like stealing someone else's music, or there's no confirmation that you bought it or you have any rights to it. But before, it was just so easy people were stealing someone else's music, using it for content and things like that. But nowadays it's better.
It is. And I think it's a great thing, but it's kind of funny because I keep getting flagged myself for my own music. So every single post I've made using my song, I get flagged just saying you're using someone. It's mine. So you have to contest it. I have to do it with every single post. I'm like, that's weird. Like, why are they not making the connection that that's me? So maybe it is a bit of a hassle.
Maybe they're using like the algorithm or the AI or whatever, and it's just not as good to be able to, associate the name of the account.
Yeah, the name of the artist is Suzi Kory, and my profile is Suzi Kory. Hey, wait a second, that might be the same person. So I have to keep contesting my own usage of my own song on social media. But of course, it's great. I having said that, look, at the end of the day, if someone uses my song for a post or a video or whatever, I have no problem with that, because to me, the more exposure you get, the better. Mm-hmm. You're getting the song out there. So if that person does a video and they use my song and then that video goes viral, that could get your song heard by many people. Sure. So it definitely doesn't hurt anybody. And we're talking about fractions of a cent, that you get paid on a song being used anyways. It's not like it's big money by any means. Like, I have over 300,000 streams, and that equates to about $700.
Yeah.
So, it's not huge money, but the more important part is getting people to use your music, because absolutely, if their videos are out there and being seen by more people, they're doing me a favor by getting my song out there.
It'd be nice too, like if they use your music, they put the artist's name somewhere.
Yeah. Sometimes it does, because when you add a song, it'll show what the song is and who the artist is. But yeah, you're right. It doesn't always show. So, either way, at the end of the day, you hope people like it. They'll do the search and go, what's the song? And, look for it.
It'll take care of itself for sure.
So you were talking about stories earlier, and you wanted to share some crazy stories. Is there anything that comes up to mind you want to share?
Oh my gosh, many. Another fun one that I remember is that I was traveling to LA to shoot my very first music video. It was for a song called The Secret Garden. And I was very lucky. I got upgraded to business class. So I was sitting in business class, and I got talking to the flight attendant. And then she was asking me what I'm going to do in LA. And I said, I'm going to record a song. And she goes, oh, what kind of music do you do? And I say, country music. And she goes, oh, well, who's sitting behind you? I'm like, no, who? I saw a guy with long hair, but I didn't recognize him. It was Billy Ray Cyrus. And so we got chatting. I talked to him, and we talked for like 2 hours on the plane. And then at the end of it, he said, well, listen, send me something. I'd love to hear your music. So he gave me his number. I sent him a song when I got off the plane. And then 2 hours later, he texted me back. He's like, this is really great. Like, you're actually really good. And he goes, let's stay in contact. And so him and I stayed in contact. And then he was going to be in one of my music videos. I said to him, do you want to make a cameo? I think it would be funny. And he's like, absolutely. And I'll do it. And I don't want anything for it. I'll just be in the video. But it turned out when I was shooting the video, he ended up being in Nashville, in Tennessee, because Miley Cyrus was getting married. So he couldn't come to the video shoot in LA.
Oh, man.
What are the priorities here? What's going on?
I know. Me or Miley. She got divorced anyways. So, But then a couple of months later, I think it was 2 months later, he came out with Old Town Road, with Lil Nas X. Yep. And just blew up. And then I never heard from him again. But, that was my little story with him.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's when you get those upgrades, you always wonder, like, oh, is there going to be somebody famous? There was one
on the flight to LA,
Yeah. There was one video of I forgot the actor's name. He's Dwight Schrute from The Office.
Yeah.
So he was showing a video where he's sitting next to the guy, eating and watching The Office. And he was like, I saw that. Guys, no idea he's sitting next to What are the chances?
Well, I have another funny story for you, kind of similar to that, sort of. You'll see why. I was at my producer's home, and we were working together. We were recording. This was a few years ago. And then his friend calls him, and he says, do you mind if I come over? And he asks me, is it okay if my friend comes? We take a little break? I'm like, sure. So his friend comes over. His name is Eric. And we sit and we chat, talk music and all these things. And he asks me, what I'm doing there. And I say, I'm recording a new song, whatever. Half an hour later, he leaves. And then my producer turns to me and says, you know who that was, right? And I'm like, yeah, it's your buddy, Eric. And he goes, no, you know what band he's in? I'm like, no. He goes, well, you might know them. It's Kiss. He's Eric Singer, the drummer.
Yep. Yeah.
And I've never seen him without makeup. I don't know what he looks like.
Yeah.
Is he a little guy, right?
Yeah. So
that's funny.
I felt so sick. I had no clue.
But you know what? Do you think some of these famous people kind of like that when people don't recognize them and they can actually just carry a normal conversation?
Exactly. And truly, I do feel that way, even though, it's cool to meet all these people. I don't get overly excited at all. And actually, one of the funny stories is when I met Bryan Adams. At the end of our meeting, he said, do you want to take a picture? And I'm like, no, it's okay. Because he met me while I was at work. And I said to him, I'm a manager here and I don't want to be what we tell our people here not to do, I don't want to be the person doing it. Because then, you know, as a manager, I'd be the person contradicting what I tell other people not to do. And he said, well, no one's going to see us. We can just go somewhere. And I said, no, it's okay. Honestly, I'm good. And I think it took him like, what? You don't want a photo? I'm offering you a photo and you're saying no?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he didn't say that, but I could tell he's just like, he probably doesn't get that very often. Anyhow, I mean, the cool thing about it is him and I, again, stayed in contact. And, you know, because they see that you're not like this hungry person who's just trying to, you know, attach yourself to someone famous, they treat you in a different way. And then when he knew that I was also a musician, it's different. We talked music and things like that. And when he came to Toronto, he actually invited me to a few of his shows, and I got to hang out backstage. And, you know, when he was in Toronto's a very big city, and he knows obviously a lot of people back here. But I was one of 4 people backstage. That's it. It was just the 4 of us. And to me, that was like, wow, you know, I'm one of 4 people that he invited to hang out with him here. So again, you know, I think being that person who isn't starstruck, even though, of course, I have so much admiration for these people, but I don't, you know, act in ways that are like you're fanatical around them.
Yeah,
Right,
you want to
right,
be
right.
respectful, and I think that's the kind of people in conversation they'll remember.
Absolutely, yeah. And then you get a lot more of that because they can feel it, they can sense it, you know, as opposed to people who are just like, again, trying to attach themselves to someone famous.
Yeah. So you possibly have something coming up in New York?
Potentially, yeah. If so, it would be in Youngstown. So it's a little ways from you guys, but yeah, we're still working the details of that out. But I will let you know if it does come into play.
Yeah, it'd be worth it for sure.
Yeah, keep us posted. Once you know the dates for sure, like set in stone, and then let us know, and then we'd love to come out there.
Absolutely. And if not, then I will make the trip out to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll figure something out. Hey, did we get
Now,
backstage
just remind me,
passes?
where are you located exactly?
We're in Syracuse, New York.
Syracuse. Okay. Yeah, I looked it up. I think it's, yeah, like you said, maybe, I think it was 4.5-hour drive. So it wasn't too bad in good traffic.
Yeah, and then also that recording would, you know, in the studio even would be much better than this one ended.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, I'm someone, I love to meet people in person. It's so different. The energy is different. This is nice that we got to do something, but it's so different when you're together.
For sure, and then we can grab dinner or something afterwards.
Yeah, and then maybe I'll sing a song live in the studio there.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be wonderful. That'd be wonderful. But yeah, you're certainly welcome anytime, and we appreciate you taking the time for us today.
Thank you. I appreciate this. And honestly, this has been really, really nice. You're both wonderful, wonderful people.
Thank you, Kory.